So William, you're 23 years old, you were joint champion apprentice, you rode for Andrew Balding, you're in one of the best jobs, if not the best job in the country, you could be champion jockey this year. Has the speed of this ascent surprised you in any way?
Yeah, I suppose. Well, surprise isn't. I think it hasn't really surprised me, but it's something that can be helped with good horses and good jobs, you know, and that's certainly been a big part of it. That's been the only part of it, you know. I mean, a jockey is only as good as his horse, and I've been very fortunate that I've ridden a lot of horses in my career so far that have put me on the map. And obviously started with Andrew Balding, and I mean, a horse Bucciolati got me kind of from the apprentice level, took me to another step up in group company, and then came to John Gosden's, and then took another step up again. And you know, I'm very fortunate. The job I'm in, I mean, it's a fantastic job. It's a huge team behind them, and you know, it's so much goes on behind the scenes, and I'm just kind of I'm the pilot in a very big team.
You've talked a lot about the people who've influenced your career and the people around you. Who do you think's been your most important influence?
Well, I mean, my mother and father, of course. You know, they've been a huge influence. My mum taught me how to ride, had ponies and things like that, and obviously, you know, got good grounding at Andrew Balding, so that's been a huge influence as well. And John Gosden, you know, it's I feel I'm learning something new every day.
You said, I was quite intrigued in that Racing Post interview very recently, that you were accepted quite quickly into the weighing room. Do you think that is because you are a fairly sociable, even-tempered kind of guy, or at least that's the way it appears to us on the surface?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not sure. I think, you know, it's a very competitive sport, and you can't give an inch, you know, but you've got to have respect. You've got to respect the senior jockeys, and when you start, it's very important to respect them, because, you know, like you're a new kid and you're stepping into a weighing room where there's multiple champion jockeys, you know, and you need to respect them, and you see some young lads these days, it's like they don't know what they're stepping into. They're kind of oblivious to it. So I think it's very important when you're a young lad, you just have to, on the track, of course, you know, don't be letting anybody out or anything, but when you go into the weighing room and, you know, go up to the senior lads and ask them, watch me, what do you think, and stuff like that. You get valuable advice.
But I guess by the same token, you mustn't be intimidated by them insofar as you've got to hold your ground.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You know, don't be polite and respect them, but as you go along, you learn that there's every man for yourself out there, and then after a while, you know, you become a part of the furniture in the weighing room.
Just going back to that time at Andrew Balding's at Kingsclere, obviously quite a formative stage of your life. What do you think was the single most important aspect of race riding, or indeed anything else that you learnt with the Baldings?
Well, I mean, riding work, obviously, before you had any ride is very important, and I think, and you know, it's obviously a famous place for producing young jockeys, and just the whole setup there, the way they do everything, it's perfect for a young rider to go and learn his trade. I mean, the gallops are fantastic. Some of them are quite challenging to ride. So you know, you need to be able to have a horse balanced. You need to think ahead, and of course you make mistakes when you ride work there. You know, up and the downs, it's quite vast. You know, so you learn things like that there. But I remember, I mean, there was one horse I used to ride every work morning, and he wouldn't go a yard. So I used to have to push him every morning, and then you learn how to push a horse. And sometimes Andrew would say to me, you know, don't be scared to give him a couple of flicks, and that's how you know. There's no good riding work on horses that just take it the whole time. I mean, you need to start on bad horses, and then in racing wise, they're not frightened to put you up in big handicaps. And I mean, when I rode at Royal Ascot, it was I think on my second year. I hadn't even been riding a full year yet, I don't think. And she was Dark Missile, she was fancied in the Wokingham, and you know, that's something that it takes a lot of courage for a trainer to put a young apprentice up on that big stage, you know, and like you see, he keeps, you know, Parkhouse keep producing good jockeys.
I mean, what would you say is the fundamental difference, say, between riding for Andrew Balding and riding for John Gosden?
Well, first and foremost, you know, they're both fantastic setups. You know, Andrew Balding's is it's a huge setup. It's very professional. It's faultless. You know, very much the same in John Gosden. I mean, you know, I've been very fortunate. I went from a very good job to a fantastic job. You know, it was just stepped up another level. And coming to Newmarket was very new, but I think it's very important to be in Newmarket because you're in the middle of it all, and you don't miss it. You don't miss anything.
Is there a difference, though, in terms of the way they, as trainers, approach the art of training, or approach the art of how you win races?
Well, I mean, both Andrew and John are very good trainers, in you know, of course. But I mean, I wouldn't put anything between them.
It's not suggesting one is better than the other.
No.
It's just there are different ways of skinning a cat.
Absolutely.
And you as a jockey, how you sort of have that dynamic with the trainer.
I mean, when I was with Andrew, I was a lot younger, you know. So I suppose now I'm a bit more clued up. I get more involved, and at Clarehaven, I'm a part of a big team, and you know we all give our views and things like that, and then John makes the decisions, you know, and so far it's working very well.
Does that mean you're going out to ride horses with a slightly different mindset? You're thinking about a career rather than a victory?
Yeah. Well, you know the horse at home. You should know how they want to be ridden, and obviously maidens and things like that. You know, they start off as 2 or 3 year olds, and there's a long road ahead.
What about when you first met John Gosden? You didn't know him particularly well. You hadn't really ridden for him. What were your first impressions?
Intimidating. Yeah, but. You know, he's a rock. You feel safe because he's got strong opinions, strong views, and he's a very intelligent man. You know, I mean, he can talk about anything and sound like an expert. You know, he knows everything. And I remember the first time I turned up at Clarehaven, it was such an eye opener just to spend the morning there, you know.
Did you feel you gelled quite readily?
Yeah. I mean, he made me feel very welcome, and there was no pressure on me. And then obviously, me winning the Shima Classic was a huge icebreaker. I don't think between me and John, because he'd already accepted me, and he was very helpful, and he wanted me to do well for the team. But of course, winning one of the world's richest races, it's a huge bonus and it's a big help.
So in that first season as it went on, were there any moments of self-doubt at all? Any moments where you thought, oh, I'm not sure if I'm up to this?
No. You know, you just put that at the back of the mind. You know, you got the job. You know, every jockey aspires to get a big job, and you don't want to let that opportunity slip. You got to nearly put a bit of an ignorant head on and just think tunnel vision. You want to do well, and don't think that you're going to fail any time. You know.
Are you good at that? Are you good at compartmentalising mentally?
Yeah, well, you got to be very focused, because if you lose focus, then you know, that's in all sports. Tennis players, Formula 1 drivers, footballers, everything. You got to be focused, and you got to be focused, be interested, and be ambitious.
We've talked quite a bit about John Gosden the man, but what about John Gosden the horseman? What have you learnt about the art of training from him? What fundamentally makes him a good trainer?
Well, I mean, he's an amazing trainer, you know. I mean, sometimes I can't even see things he sees. You know, I mean, his eye for a horse is unbelievable, and you know, his knowledge of training, you know, how to progress with the horse or back off with the horse. You know, he's a fantastic trainer, and this year we've got some nice horses as well.
So you might, for example, come back after a piece of work and say, "Yep, this filly's working really well," and he might say, "I'm just going to ease off her for a month."
Well, I mean, if I say that to John Gosden, then he's already figured that out 5 minutes before I tell him.
But crucially, he says that he wants you in there every day for that feedback that you're giving him.
Yeah, you know, work monitor is important. Every stable jockey has to ride work. It's a big stable. You know, if you didn't, well, there's no choice. You have to ride work, otherwise you lose touch.
Who are the other key players in that team that you think have been really important?
Well, Robert Havlin. He's a very good jockey, very kind jockey on maidens, and you know, he was a big help to me when I first came there. He taught me the ropes. You know, what they like, what they don't like, how they usually like the horses ridden, and so forth. And you know, he's a big player in the team. Assistant trainer Barry O'Dowd. I mean, I've never known a man work harder, I don't think. And the racing manager Peter Schumacher. You know, it's such a big team behind him, and all the lads. It's obviously things are going well, so you know everyone's happy when things are going well. But it's not by default. You know, their attention to detail is second to none.